Good morning and welcome to Erasmus TV. Feike Sijbesma is an alumnus from Rotterdam School of Management. He's part of the outbreak management team and gives advice to the Dutch government. He has been named several times most influential businessman of the Netherlands. Oh, and he's our guest today. Very welcome, good to have you here.
Thank you, good morning.
Yeah. You have another title. The title, we call it in Dutch, speciaal gezant, special envoy in English. You barely hear it. What is it, and what can you do differently that a minister or another member of parliament can't do?
Well, by the way, I'm not part of the outbreak management team. I'm indeed the special corona envoy for the Dutch cabinet. And I'm trying to help and to facilitate the developments around corona and how to get out of this crisis. And what can I do? I know the business environment very well. I know many of the providers of tests or other materials or vaccines or etc. very well. And I can help the government to speed up our reaction in this corona crisis.
Yeah, and you helped us because last Wednesday the government announced that it will gradually loosen the measures against the coronavirus. But
Correct.
Before that was possible, we needed to have enough tests available. And well, that was your task, and the measures are going to loosen. So that means that you succeeded.
Yes, so amongst others, my task indeed, we succeeded. Not that easy because you talk about two different tests. The test you talk about is the so-called nose or throat test with some cotton swab. You take the test. So you need a lot of people from the GGD's and others to take the test. You need a lot of swabs. Then you need a lot of laboratories who can do that test. And we started with 3. We have now 50 laboratories. Then you need the support of the suppliers, the Roche, the Thermo Fishers, Kyogen, etc., to provide all those tests, which we succeeded. And then you need to do track and tracing also, again, by the GGD's to look to which people you have been in contact. So we need to arrange a lot of things. We started 5 weeks ago with less than 2,000 tests a day in the Netherlands. Now, in June, we can do more than 30,000 tests a day. And that is a huge step up. And it means basically that we can test all people in the Netherlands who have some symptoms, of course, if not when you have pain in your leg, but when you have clear symptoms, you can be tested. And this is a part of our total exit from the lockdown. It consists out of 3 different measures. One is in all the different sectors, you need to take 1.5 meter distance. And I guess also at the university, you took all kinds of measures to take your distancing. There where you cannot do that, like in public transportation, we use mouth masks and other protections. And the third pillar is the test and the tracing. And none of those are water sealed and none of those are 100% effective. But with a composition of and taking distances and using mouth masks where needed and doing test and tracing, hopefully we can get out of the lockdown and still get the spreading of the virus within our healthcare capacity, because that's what we try to do. And hopefully with some discipline of all the people in the Netherlands, we can stay in that limit. That's important. Otherwise, we would ever come to a second lockdown, and we don't want that.
Yeah, you already gave a short description of how this test looks like. Our own ICU vlog student, Mara, made a small vlog about, well, the behind the scenes of taking this test.
Good.
En dan ga ik eigenlijk diep in de keel. En dan vraag ik soms ook om A te zeggen. Maar eigenlijk bij Demi kan je het heel goed zien, dus dan is dat helemaal niet nodig.
Mark, jullie krijgen hier alle materialen binnen. Wat gebeurt er daarna eigenlijk mee?
Heel simpel gezegd, de materialen komen hier binnen. Dat gebeurt dan in bijvoorbeeld dit soort buizen.
En vervolgens ga je de neus in en dan vraag ik altijd om eventjes goed diep in te ademen. En dat doet ze ook super goed. Dan ga je best diep, zoals mensen zien. En dan stoppen we in de buis en dan is het alweer helemaal klaar.
Hier zit dan het patiëntmateriaal met een watje zit erin. En daarnaast hebben we ook deze buisjes. Er zit een blauw medium in. Dat is een lease buffer. Dat zorgt ervoor dat het virus eigenlijk helemaal kapot gaat. En vervolgens eigenlijk geschikt is om uiteindelijk een isolatie en PCR uit te voeren.
De groene aangekleurde cellen, die zijn de geïnfecteerde cellen. Die zijn aangekleurd met corona-antiserum.
Hier binnen het Erasmus MC willen we ook graag weten of het virus echt in staat is om nog te repliceren. Dus of het cellen kan infecteren. Daarom zetten wij ook van heel veel materialen viruskweek in.
Yes, so this part is very important in tackling this crisis. And as you said, these are the 3 steps that we've taken now. What is going to be the next step to tackle this corona crisis?
Well, hopefully we can all be very disciplined and take this 1.5 meter distancing, use the mouth masks in public transportation. And every person who has symptoms need to be tested. As you saw, by the way, you need to do that professionally because it goes very deep into your nose or in your throat. And you saw in the movie, by the way, that it was done manually, the test, but we do it automated in most laboratories. 30,000 a day cannot be done manually. But those 3 measures need to prevent that the spreading goes beyond the capacity of our healthcare. And then hopefully we can open more and more sectors. And then we wait for what? Most likely we wait for to have a vaccine before we can really open all our doors. And a vaccine, maybe there will be some vaccines developed in the course of this year, maybe. But before they are ready for really mass distribution and have production at large scale, it will take a little while, and it might take into 2021. That means also that for the time being, we will be confronted with this situation that we all need to be very disciplined and take care of ourselves and each other. And this is not the normal life we had from last January, or it looks ages away, but it's only 2-3 months away that we lived in a different period.
And I summed up already, a lot of titles that you are bearing at the moment, not even all the past ones, but you're also now part of a committee of CEOs that advises the Chinese government. And while there are some Western governments that have some distrust against China, some perhaps more than others, but how do you see the role of China in this crisis? And do you understand some of this distrust?
Yeah, I'm advising the Chinese premier already for 6 years in this committee, especially on innovation, on urbanization, on sustainability and climate. And I have a lot of respect on how China is addressing those things. Many people move from the rural areas to the urban areas, and there you get problems with your food production, innovation needed, climate change, etc. So I think China on those areas is taking great steps. On this virus, there is some confusion about when did China exactly know it and what came out to the media or brought to the public. I cannot judge that, so that's hard to judge. But of course, there are some questions and that need to be sorted out. I need to say that after China saw these problems, they took very severe actions and a very strong lockdown to contain the spreading of the virus. And we need to conclude. I trust the figures, otherwise I'm lost if I cannot trust on that. But the figures in China are relatively modest compared with some other countries.
And this corona crisis is also bringing in an economic crisis. And we discussed it last week with the Minister of Education. But I'm also worried. I'm also curious to see if you have some advice for all those students that are worried that they might not find a job when they graduate. Do you have some advice for them?
Yeah. Never be scared at the age of 23, 24, 25. Come on, try to be creative. I finished also my study. I was the first round of students at the RSM, just at the opening of the business administration education, I did my RSM study. And also then maybe it was not easy. Be creative, because look, some sectors will be really hurt at this moment and are not looking for new people. But some sectors are benefiting at this moment. If you look to all the online shopping, we already do online shopping for a while, but only with the early adopters. And now we have a whole new group of purchasers online who were always thinking, well, this is not for me, I go to the shop. But now they were helped by their children or their grandchildren to buy online. And now they get used to it, and there will be buyers online for a long time. So there will be sectors, this is just one, who will be winning also and looking for new people. You can always start your own company, own creativity. Of course, the economy got a big hit, and it's not pleasant at all, and some people are really suffering. But as always, the economy will restore, and there will be creativity needed, especially from young people, especially from the Erasmus University and from RSM, to help the economy driving again. And if not, you can always follow and do a second master to learn further and to be even more prepared to participate in the economic.
Yeah. And I have one final question, because I'm very curious. People might get a little frustrated that they can't live their normal lives. And if they know that you give advice to the government, do they, if they see you, for example, in the store or on the streets, are they asking to you, can we go to South France this weekend? Can the wedding of my niece still continue? How is it for you?
Yeah, people ask me, some people said, hey, you do a good job, thanks that everybody can be tested, or thanks for helping us out of this crisis as fast as possible. Some people stimulate me, please do it faster. I'm not a mathematician myself, so I cannot create overnight a vaccine or whatever. And indeed, many people say, hey, can we go on holiday? I would say be careful with holidays and traveling. I think this summer will still not be a normal summer. We still need to see and to take care that we can prohibit a second wave. And we are now carefully exiting the lockdown, but we cannot be that secure that there's not a second wave. So before we go all loose, I think that we need to be very disciplined, because the second wave and the second lockdown, especially for entrepreneurs and for some companies, will be disastrous. So I would say be careful. We need to realize this is a healthcare crisis, of course. This is due to the measures an economic crisis, and it is also a personal crisis. People feel locked up in their homes, etc. But I hope that people can also deal with that last part, the personal crisis, and not go totally loose now with all kinds of events, because that would not be good.
Let's not go all totally loose. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you all for watching to this episode. And we will be back tomorrow morning at 9 live. See you back.